guys are football people. And when I was doing sports talk radio in Tampa, I got to tell you this, there was this little ball boy guy that was running around with the Grudens picking up footballs and shit. And John McVay was hired by my uncle, Andy Robustelli, to be the head coach of the New York Giants, right? Well, John was part of the whole situation that built the 49er dynasty. And he became like an area scout all over the place. And then the Grudens, the dad has been involved in football. So guess what? There's this little kid running around. I know Sean McVay, you know how? Through the Grudens. This little ball boy was Sean McVay. They made him, I think, a quality control guy. Then he went on, and hey, for the record, Jay Gruden gets no credit for that great coaching staff that he had and that asshole owner he had to work with, Daniel Snyder in Washington, and the things he had. Do you know, Jay used to tell me shit I couldn't say on the air about working in that environment. And he won. Unbelievable. And I'll tell you, I can't wait for John Gruden to get back in the NFL. I can't wait for him to get a head coach. I hope he gets the Saints job because I know Mickey Loomis loves him. And I've asked Mickey Loomis, Mickey, do it. Hire the guy. I mean, Derek Carr loves him. Warren Sapp texts me and goes, I love him. You know that. These guys are great football people. And by the way, they don't put up with any shit from anybody, including Big Sills. Further ado, the former head coach of the Washington Redskins, our good friend Jay Gruden. How you doing, Jay?
Dan, what's going on with you?
Dude, man, how you doing now? Are you like in retirement life now? What's going on here, man?
Man, I walk the beach like a beach whale. I play golf. You know, I go to a happy hour every now and then. Life is good, Dan. Life is good. I work for Underdog Fantasy. Man, I got a lot of good things going on.
How about this? Tell me if this is a true story. So Bruce Allen is a dear friend of mine and has been. He told me this story about your brother and Sean McVay getting the job in Los Angeles. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Sean was on your staff, and they initially offered the job, Stan Kroenke, to John to be the head coach of the Rams. He was still in the Monday night booth, and you guys, both you and your brothers both go, wait a minute, why don't you interview Sean McVay? And Sean McVay ends up getting that job because of the recommendation of you two guys getting that. And I've had Sean on the program, and he pretty much went, without those guys, I'm not sitting here in Los Angeles. Am I right in that room there with this thing and how that thing all transpired?
Well, I hired Sean a couple times. I hired Sean in the UFL to be a receiver coach when I was offensive coordinator, working with Jim Haslett. Then he got the quality control job at Washington when I went to Cincinnati. I tried to hire him as a receiver coach with the Bengals, but Washington wouldn't let him out of his contract. Then when I got the job at Washington, I made him the youngest offensive coordinator ever. I think he was 28 or 29 at the time. And obviously, after a couple of years, he proved his worth. He's really good with the team and really smart guy, obviously. And then he got the interview, and obviously we gave him good recommendations. So, yeah, he's done a great job. And, you know, we have a little bit of say in his success as a coach, but not a whole lot. He's done a lot on his own.
How about this, Jay? That coaching staff you had, somebody reminded me that I believe the kid Slowick was
No, they were before me. The Shanahan.
They were there with Mike.
Yeah, so Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, I got the job after them. They had LaFleur, and they had the kid at Miami and Slowick. I got the job. I had Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell were on my staff, Wes Phillips, a couple other guys that have gone on to be coordinators and stuff like that. So, yeah, we had a good staff.
You got to be pretty proud, though, of what you're seeing here with how these guys have all come from that coaching staff. And, Jay, now after the fact, I mean, that's a pretty tough environment for you to have to succeed in, and what was going on with a lot of things above you. I mean, you had to keep your eye on football at the time. How hard is that to manage? Because Belichick is now even saying there's so many cooks that are in the kitchen. When you're a head coach today, you know, you got the general manager. At times you got a meddling owner. And that wasn't a Washington thing. That's an NFL thing nowadays, especially with all the analytics. How hard is it, in your opinion, to be an NFL head coach with all the cooks in the kitchen today?
Well, that's the issue. You know, you got to make sure you have the right cooks in the kitchen working with you. And there are a lot of coaches, quite frankly, don't want a lot of say in personnel and do the work in the draft and all that stuff. I personally, that was my favorite part, is evaluating people and players. And so when we came draft time and free agent time, I wanted to have a lot of say, although I didn't get a whole lot. So it's very frustrating. But as long as you got the right guys working with you and you're pulling in the same direction, it's great. But when you start having that animosity, we don't want this guy, we signed him anyway, and you have too many of those guys, then you have the it's no fun to walk into work with everybody kind of, it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. No, it's not my fault. I like the kid. They just don't know how to coach him. It's shit like that. So yeah, it's not a fun environment when not everybody's on the same page.
I'll tell you what, Bruce Allen broke the story on my show when I was doing radio in Southern California that RG3 was not going to be retained with the Washington Redskins. And he basically came on our program and did that for us. It was really cool. Jay, how tough was that? I mean, because I don't ever think you really liked the style. I thought you liked more of the Kirk Cousins kind of player. I mean, by the way, this is the first year they've got a quarterback that you could go back and say, hey, have they had a better quarterback since Jay's Kirk Cousins when he was there? The answer is no. And I know Mike drafted him, but you took him and elevated him, and you really didn't want that style of play, that RG3 kind of run and shoot kind of thing. Or was it something else on how that whole thing played out? Walk us through that and how you dealt with that situation.
Yeah, RG3 had a great rookie year. There's no denying that. And then he got hurt, obviously. And then he didn't have a very good year with Shanahan. They fired Shanahan. Then I came in to try to revive RG3's career. It just was unrevivable at the time. He wanted to turn more to a drop back quarterback, but that wasn't a style. You can't just turn into a drop back quarterback overnight. He didn't have the accuracy or the pocket awareness to do that. He's still a pretty good athlete, obviously, but to stay in the pocket, do the things necessary to make the audibles, make the checks, the protection checks and all that stuff just wasn't his thing. He'd never done it. Kirk was a lot more natural with the drop back game, the anticipation, the accuracy you needed to have to play in that role. And it was quite evident, not just to me, but the entire organization, that all the coaches, even the players would come up to me and say, we got to get Kirk in the game. So it was pretty easy. It wasn't easy with the fans and all that stuff. A lot of people didn't understand why we couldn't get the same RG3 as rookie year. He was a different player year 3. And quite frankly, Kirk was a much better player in practice. And then when he got into games, he obviously proved he was pretty damn good at that too.
Did the owner get in the way?
You know what? He initially, we all wanted Robert to succeed. There's no doubt about it. It wasn't like, I wanted Robert to do great. I mean, heck, it was my job, depending on it. If I could get him to play like he played his rookie year. The problem is, the Shanahans did a really good job the rookie year with the zone reads and the play actions off of it. Nobody had really seen it before. Now that teams have seen it, it kind of dried up a little bit. And then we relied more on drop back passes. And that just wasn't his forte. So the owner wanted him to succeed, but I think even he could see the development of Kirk Cousins and what he did every time he came in a preseason game, what he did in practice, and he listened to the voices. So we made that change at the beginning of my second year. We announced Kirk as a full-time starter, so there wouldn't be any in and out shuffling. You're starting this week. If you have a bad game, you're out. You're going to play this guy. Kind of happened my first year. It's Robert got hurt. We put Kirk in, then we put Colton, then we put Robert back in. It was a nightmare. It's no fair to any quarterback. You have to commit to one guy. We did that with Kirk, and the rest is history.
This leads me to this because we're based in Philly, and Jay, tell me if I'm off base in this because I value your opinion on this here. I don't believe that there's a huge ceiling with dual threat quarterbacks. I know that they're morphing to that now because of free agency. You lose a lot of guys. Every roster is upside down every year. You're going to lose people because, again, there's so much free agency now, and the more the places you're going to lose are going to be in the offensive line. But I think you win Super Bowls and games from the pocket. You have to win games from the pocket. I look at Jalen Hurts, and this is my assessment of him. I don't think he's a very good pocket passer. They were 30th this year in offense. Kellen Moore decided that they were going to run the football. I mean, when he gets into a football game, Jay, his progression reading's not good. He doesn't throw with anticipation. He throws the spots. Am I off on him? And people go like this, well, he wins. Well, I don't think you can give that comment to a quarterback. You can't. He can't be the reason they win if he's not the reason they win. And it's other reasons. They're playing great defense. They got a 2,000-yard back. I don't think he's the reason they win. Am I off when I say that? When I say Jalen, everyone thinks I'm crazy. I just look at him and I go, I think he's a dude.
I think there's some guys on the Eagles team that kind of agree with you. You got guys reading books on the sideline and things of that nature. And hey, what's the problem with the offense? And the guy says passing. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that probably agree with you. He hasn't had a good year. He protects the ball. But I do think there is a place for dual threat quarterbacks. You look at Josh Allen, you look at Lamar Jackson, the things they do off schedule, Jayden Daniels. You have to have somebody that can move a little bit to avoid pressure and create something on the move, a play that's not there. Team plays zone and have a man beater. What can you do? You have to buy time and get outside the pocket and wait for a second or third window throw. The great ones can do that. The Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, those guys, Jayden Daniels, those guys are awesome at that. That's what makes their team good. So the true pocket passers, they're hard. Everything has to be right. Jared Goff is very good. He's one of the few that's still, and Matthew Stafford. Those two are still alive. They can still do it because they're veterans. They understand protections. They understand anticipation, where routes are, how to attack coverage, where to go with the football, if it's quarters, if it's cover 2, if it's cover 3, if it's man-to-man. It takes a lot to be a true pocket passer. That's why young, true pocket passers, it takes a little bit more time than athletic quarterbacks because they can play, they can use their legs and do some ad-lib stuff and be effective.
How do you see Hurts? I mean, Jay, is that the style that you would want to coach? Is that the kind of quarterback that, look, and here's the thing too, that people don't get, and this is the thing that you had to butt heads with. If you're paying $35 million for AJ Brown and $25 million for another guy, and you're paying $50 million for a quarterback, and you're 15-3, but yet you're 30th in offense, that's not how you design this thing to happen. I know if you pay him, you got to play him. That's the big thing in the NFL. You pay him, you got to play him. I understand that. But, it hurts the style of quarterback that you would want to go into a game with, especially into a playoff game when you know you have to win from the pocket.
I'm not a huge Jalen Hurts fan, quite frankly. I'm kind of with you a little bit, probably not to your level, but I kind of agree with you. I think their offense is totally underachieved, other than Saquon Barkley, who's the best running back in the game. Obviously, he's unbelievable, but without Saquon, their ability to throw the ball has been an underachievement, to say the least. They have two really good weapons on the outside. They have a very good tight end in Dallas Goedert. They can get you a lot of different ways in the passing. They just don't do it. I don't know if they don't push the envelope because Jalen doesn't like it, or if he's not as prepared, if he's just going through one read and then throwing it in the stands or scrambling or what have you. It just doesn't look like they're in sync when it's time to pass the ball. I agree with you there. But when they have the dual threat of him running the ball and Saquon running the ball with that offensive line, they can beat anybody without a doubt.
What do the Rams? Let's do this. The Rams, obviously, Eagles this weekend. What type of game plan would you have? Vic Fangio plays two-eye safety, Jay. It's a two-eye safety. The guys are off the ball. They're this, they're whatever. And they have that giant zone under and in the middle there. You got Puka Nacua, and you also have Cooper Kupp that are in there. And you got, like you said, one of the best progression passers. If you're Sean McVay, how would you attack this Philadelphia Eagle defense?
They're going to have to run the ball and shrink the game, without a doubt. They can't they don't really have a lot of speed. The weapons are good. They run good routes, but Puka doesn't run real well. Cooper's not the same Cooper Kupp as he was a couple of years ago, obviously. Kyron Williams is a good back. He's got good vision. He's powerful. So it starts with Kyron Williams, number one. They got to get him between the tackles. They got to attack Jalen Carter. They got to try to get him out of a gap and try to hit some runs. And then that opens up the play-action pass for Matthew Stafford, get him out on the perimeter. That's what he's very good at. If that turns into a true drop-back game, I don't think the Rams can hang with the Eagles. The Eagles' pass rush will get them. Their coverage guys can cover the receivers that they have. The Rams rely on perimeter screens. They rely on running the football. They rely on bootlegs, getting the quarterback outside the pocket. But that's all first, second down stuff. That's when they have a lead. They're very dangerous. They can possess the football. Matthew doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So that's how the Rams can beat you. Possess the football, long drives, get the ball in the end zone. And then on the flip side, obviously, they got to do a better job of stopping Saquon. Saquon had 250 against them last time they played, and that's going to be a tough challenge for them.
Would you agree? So you think running stretch plays at Jalen Carter, in your opinion, trying to get him in a different gap so that he overplays the gap and run those cutbacks on them, that's how you think the Rams can get a running game going?
Yeah, sometimes they can run. They love the duo play, the double teams up to the linebacker, all that. They love that too. And let the Kyron Williams read the Mike linebacker. If he comes in, he bounces it out. If he goes out, he stays inside. The only issue with Jalen Carter, he's a great player. Sometimes he jumps around blocks. That's the only issue. He does do that. And if that happens, then they can find some creases. But sometimes he jumps around blocks and hits the running back for a loss of 5. So, let's pick your poison. So, yeah. They're a great defense, but I do know that Sean McVay will try to challenge them as far as stopping the run, because that's what the Rams have to rely on. In their winning streak towards the end of the year against the Jets, they only threw the ball 19 times. They just pounded it down their throat, and they did a good job against Minnesota. Kyron had about 80 yards rushing. So that'll be the big key in the game.
Let's go into some of these games here. What separates Andy Reid from being the play caller? What do you think makes him different in the type of play calling that he has for Mahomes? Because wouldn't you agree, Andy Reid versus when he was in Philly, Andy Reid now, is it just that simple, Jay, that it's McNabb versus Mahomes, and it's just an elevated talent, in your opinion, that the quarterback makes Reid look good? Is he the same guy? Is he the same play caller that he was when he's in Philly, or is he different now?
He's got a little different nuances to him, but it helps with Mahomes. I mean, obviously, Patrick just extends plays, man. Andy could call a horrible play against a coverage that shuts it down, but Mahomes will buy time, and Travis Kelce will break off a little shallow cross to the corner, and then it's a gain of 30. It's like, wow, what a call by Andy. That's a hell of a play by Kelce and Mahomes. Andy had nothing to do with that. But Andy does do a great job in situational football and third down. I believe they're number one in the league in converting on third downs. That's Andy Reid's play calling. That's Patrick Mahomes' execution. That's the guys making plays in critical situations. That's where they thrive, critical situations, third down, red zone, when the game's on the line. That's when they come through. And Coach Reid always has something up his sleeve in the red zone, a weird formation, a motion, a shift, a bootleg, something crazy that's hard to defend. But, yeah, he's the more you call plays, Dan, the better you're going to get. The older you get, the better you're going to get, because you're going to see a lot of different things and have a lot of different ideas, know what works against different coverages, know how to attack certain corners. So, yeah, Andy's evolved exceptionally well. Obviously, he's won a lot of Super Bowls and had a lot of success.
How about this, Jay? Jimmy Johnson on the program about a month ago said this to us. He said that there's certain coordinators that want to get stats and numbers. There's certain coordinators that win ball games. Just somebody just reminded me of something. I mean, Kellen Moore has won 15 ball games this year. Last year, they put up a lot of numbers in Philadelphia with A.J. Brown, Devontae. Even Jalen had bigger numbers last year. What's your definition of a great offensive coordinator? Is it how it looks? Or is it more about people bitching about method instead of the result? Because it's got to be results driven, right? Not how this thing looks.
It's all about results. Some of my best games as a play caller, we didn't score that many points. We controlled the ball, controlled the clock, punted when we had to punt, didn't turn the ball over. Win 17-13. But heck, we protected our defense. We played the field position game, and sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes you got to score 50 points. I've had games where we scored 50, 49, 48. When I was at Cincinnati, we put up almost 50 on Rex Ryan and his New York Jet football team. So we've had games like that, Cincinnati and at Washington. But, it's all about results. I'd rather win a game 17-13, possess the football, punt when you had to punt, play great defense, than lose a game 38-37 because, you turn the ball over 3 times and gave your defense short fields 4 or 5 times.
Let me go back to this Chiefs-Texans game. Do you like Stroud? Do you think Stroud, again, what you've seen is over the last 2 years, he had a great playoff game, wobbled a little bit, Jay, during the season this year. Maybe that had a lot to do with injuries. I thought the addition of Joe Mixon, giving them play action, Nico Collins has turned out to be something special. They got a decent running game going now. Their old line's looking a little better. They got a good play caller. I mean, do you like the Texans in this ball game against the Chiefs? Do you think they can hang in there for a couple quarters to make it close?
I don't, unless somehow they get ahead and make Kansas City one-dimensional. The tackles for Kansas City will struggle against the pass rush of Houston. CJ has taken a step back this year. There's no doubt about it. He had an unbelievable rookie year. Hard to maintain that level of play from year 1 to year 2. I think their offensive line has struggled considerably, blocking for Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon finally went over 100 yards last week against the Chargers, but they struggle on the front, man. They're not very good. And their first 5 possessions against the Chargers, they had 16 plays, a fumble, an interception, and 3 punts.
Wow.
So they're going to struggle against Kansas City, and Kansas City's got that week to prepare and rest. It's going to be a tough day for Houston, in my opinion. But CJ is a good player. He just got to continue to get better and better. Losing Tank Dell is a killer for him. He had almost 100 yards against the Chiefs last time out and a touchdown. He's not in, obviously. Nico's a great player. But other than Nico, I don't know where they turn. McDuffie can cover Nico a little bit, and he'll do a good job, but I don't know where else they turn. They don't have really any receiver help. Other than that, Dalton Schultz is okay, but he'll struggle. They're kind of like they have 2 players that can hurt you, Mixon and Nico. I think Kansas City knows that, and they'll shut those two guys down. It'll be a tough day for Houston.
Your former team, the Commanders, Redskins, play the Lions at home. Like you said, the Lions, again, had that bye week here. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. This kid, Jayden Daniels, I had Herm Edwards on the program too, and Herm said to me when he had him at Arizona State, he reminds him a lot of Randall Cunningham, that he does a lot of the things that Randall could do. You know, he's elusive. He's got a big arm. He's exceptionally talented. How impressed have you been with him and the Commanders' chances? They got Terry McLaurin. They've got a good defensive-minded guy in Dan Quinn. I think Cliff Kingsbury's done a fabulous job with him, Jayden Daniels. Tell me how you see this game playing out.
Well, Jayden, I think this could arguably be the best rookie season in the history of football. What he's done, taking over a franchise, had the number 2 pick in the draft, so you know they weren't very good. It wasn't just a quarterback. They had other issues. He's elevated everybody around him. He's made everybody better. I mean, you talk about Terry McLaurin, but, you know, De'Ami Brown, I'd never even heard of De'Ami Brown. He made some huge plays last week. Zach Ertz, he's an aged veteran tight end. He makes some plays. Austin Eckler, older running back, he's made some plays. Noah Brown, early in the season, he made some plays. Ziki OZ, we call him. He makes some plays in the slot. Even Jameson Crowder had a couple touchdowns a couple of weeks ago. He elevates everybody around him. That's what's special about the kid. And he never gets fazed by anything. He is put in some crucial situations now. 4th down, Dan Quinn goes for it. Historical amount. He puts it all on Jayden Daniels' plate. He'll run. He makes the right decision all the time, whether it's throwing the ball or running for a first down. Just been ultimate. And he handles a lot of information. They do a lot of no huddle, a lot of motions. Kingsbury's done an excellent job, like you said. So I do give the Commanders a little bit of a shot in this game, but not much. I just think top to bottom on the roster, I think Detroit's a little bit better. Their offense on Detroit, the offensive line against the Commander defensive line, that's a mismatch, I think. Obviously, the two-headed monster, Montgomery might play again. If Gibbs and Montgomery is a nightmare, Laporte is an unbelievable tight end. And, of course, the receivers are great, and Goff is efficient as anybody. So it's going to be a tough day for the Washington defense. But I think Washington's offense can make this thing interesting because what they did against Tampa was impressive. They held the ball for like 35 minutes. Tampa only had 7 possessions. And if they can do that against Detroit, keep their offense on the sideline, they can be in it at the end.
Jay, when you have a young quarterback like Jayden Daniels, how much and how protective of you by not over inundating him with so much intel? Because, again, processing the information, Bill Walsh told me that he can always tell when a great quarterback is from his feet and how he processes the information when he gets back. How careful are you when you have a young quarterback like that, not to inundate him too much with too much intel? Is it a simple game plan? You just said that they really give him a lot of information on how he goes into this game plan here. Are we in that part of the season where that stuff is just out the window? Or do you think that that's important just to make sure? You have to remember, he is a rookie, and this is his first look at playoff football.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They have some other young players on offense too. I think Cliff does a great job of playing fast, make it look very complicated. They do repeat a lot of the same plays a lot throughout the course of a game. So it's not a heavy game plan as far as numbers of plays, but it is a game plan where they can get you different personnel groups and run similar type concepts. They can do 2-3 tight end sets. They can do 1 tight end set. They can move people around and still run similar type concepts that Jayden's very comfortable with. And then the running game, I think they've done a very good job in running. Anthony Lynn is the run game coordinator there. They do some good jobs. They haven't run the ball as good the last 3 or 4 weeks, but they got the inside zones. They got the 2 polars coming. They got the 1 polar. They got the zone reads off of it with the polars leading Jayden Daniels. They're very dangerous as far as if they can get that run game going.
Jay, talk to me. I have never been a Jared Goff fan. I look up, though, and I do this. Wait a minute. He's gone to 2 conference championships with 2 different teams. He's won a conference championship. He's been to a Super Bowl. He just won home field advantage. He throws for 4,500 yards every year and 30 touchdowns. And, Jay, I'm going like this. Well, wait a minute. What the hell else do I want from my starting quarterback? I mean, this guy was thrown to Detroit, right? He was supposed to be a stopgap guy. He gets a $53 million annual deal. And all of a sudden now he's considered one of the better and more accomplished guys in the NFC. What makes – is he maybe the most underrated guy in the playoffs when you're talking about a guy and the things that he's accomplished? Because, I mean, Jay, this guy, you look up, he's a winner, man. I mean, and look at the job he's done. Matthew Stafford couldn't do that. And he had Megatron in Detroit Look at what this guy has done in Detroit since he's been there. Is he underrated?
According to you, he must be. Not to me. I think he's as good as any quarterback in the National Football League. The way he throws the ball with anticipation, accuracy, and confidence. He makes some throws. I've made a couple cut-ups on him that I can't even imagine any quarterback making, over the top of hook players, right in front of a safety, and there's a monitor just coming out of his break, boom, right in the face. I mean, his timing and accuracy is unbelievable this year. Now, he will take some risks and throw it into coverage a couple of times. He had one game where he threw 5 picks. One was a Hail Mary, but that's the only issue with him. Sometimes I think he feels like he's so accurate and sees a field, he takes more chances than maybe he should. But I mean, how can you not be impressed with his performance, man? He's unbelievable. He spreads it around to different people. Jamison Williams, Amon St. Brown, the running game, Laporta. So yeah, he's got a lot of weapons. He's got a great play caller, but he plays with a lot of confidence and he executes in a top-notch way.
Last one here, Ravens and Bills. If you had to coach one of these guys, would you want to coach Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen?
Give me one of them, and either one of them. I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you, Dan. I'd be coaching on the field, buddy. These guys are both amazing athletes and players and clutch competitors. I mean, they make offenses go that shouldn't go sometimes. You know, you watch Josh Allen and what he did last week on 4th and 1, for instance. There's nothing there. They run 2 snag routes and 2 stomp routes down the sideline. They're gloved. The Kincaid's in the middle of the field, gloved, nothing. He just buys time, waits, and finds Johnson in the back of the end zone for a 40-yard touchdown. I mean, you can't make that stuff up, Dan. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. Then he can take the ball down and run you over, and Lamar's the same way. And these guys are doing it without really true number 1 receivers. Khalil Shakir is a good player. Bateman's a good player, but they don't really have that go-getter receiver. They have good tight ends. They have a couple good third down backs, but their legs, their ability to extend plays, second to none. I can't wait to watch this game. It's going to be a great game. I think Baltimore wins the game. They're just more physical than Buffalo. I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think they stop James Cook and turn Josh Allen into one dimension. I think they'll get him.
How about this, Jay? A couple last questions for you here, man. Joe Brady, what he's done with Josh Allen and what happened after, the whole situation and how they changed the coordinator last year and what they've done with Todd Monken. I mean, this guy won an MVP award a couple of years ago, and then all of a sudden Todd Monken comes in and just completely changes the passing game. I mean, I've never seen a year like this, Jay, and I don't know if we ever will. 4,200 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 picks, 950 yards rushing. I mean, and he has a almost 2,000-yard running back in the backfield. And like you said, Zay Flowers is nice, but I wouldn't put him in the top 15 receivers. He's got a really good tight end and a decent offensive line. I mean, this guy is, at times, he just looks like the best player on the planet.
Yeah, he's a freak. There's no doubt about it. And, I can't find it. The only negative thing to say about him is he's struggled in the playoffs. They won a game last week, which was great against Pittsburgh. He's going to have to have a good game against Buffalo. Otherwise, he's going to go down as a great regular season quarterback, struggles in a playoff type guy. But he's unbelievable. Whoever wins the MVP between him or Josh really deserve it. Really, you can't argue the fact, he's had a better year than Josh, or Josh has had a better year than Lamar. They're both incredible players. So, I don't know what Baltimore or Buffalo would do without these guys at the quarterback spot. I know they wouldn't be playing in a playoff game if they didn't have these two guys. Incredible guys, incredible competitors as well.
Last one here for you. Who do you see trending towards that game in New Orleans? The two teams that you're looking at right now that you think are playing the football that you think can get those two teams to the two teams to New Orleans. What two teams?
I think Baltimore in the AFC, obviously it goes through Kansas City, but I just think Baltimore, because of the way they've improved on defense. Early in the year, they've always played good run defense, but they couldn't stop a forward pass to save their life. Now their secondary is back in tack. Wiggins is playing pretty good, and they got Kyle Hamilton back at corner or safety. I mean, so they're doing really good in the pass as well as the run. And then you throw Lamar and Derrick Henry, that 1-2 punch. They can rush for 300 yards, 250. They can throw for 200. They can beat you any kind of way. So I like Baltimore to come through the AFC, and then the NFC. I think it goes through Detroit, man. I just think offensively they can score against anybody, anytime, anywhere, any place, and they'll be at home. That'll be a tough place to play. So, yeah, I think it's Detroit and Baltimore.
I want to sneak this on you. Your brother, is he going to get back into the NFL coaching? I hope he does. Believe me, I'm praying that he does. There's some job openings now. I mean, do you think he gets back? Do you think there's an opportunity for him to get back into the NFL? A lot of people are pulling for him. I know Eric
Yeah.
Allen, we had on AJ, Eric Allen comes on the program, and he came on a couple weeks ago and told me, he goes, hey, man, I hope John Gruden gets an opportunity to coach again in the National Football League. He's working in the Raider organization. Do you think he coaches again?
I hope so. I know he'd love to get back in it. He deserves to get back in it, in my personal opinion. I mean, he's my brother, but he's a lot better candidate than some of these guys I've been reading about. That's for dang sure, especially to go to New Orleans with Derek Carr. That's a no-brainer to me. I know he'd love to do it, but I know there's a lot of politics involved in this thing, and owners got to hire who they think is right, but he definitely would love to do it. I know he'd be good at it. He's always been good at it.
Are you going to do it again? I mean, shit. You've been living
nobody
off that,
wants me,
You've
Dan.
been living off that Redskin money now for about 4 years now, man. I mean, sitting back, enjoying your life right now. You're just kicking it with now. What are you doing now, right away? What's the gig you got now?
Yeah, I work for Underdog Fantasy. We have a YouTube channel called Clean Pocket. Myself, Colt McCoy, Jessup Pugh, AQ Shipley. We just talk about games, and yeah, it's fun. We have a good time doing that, and do some radio shows up in the DC area, and play a lot of golf, and walk on the beach. Dan, I mean, it's times are good right now. I like it. My brother lives and dies and breathes football, man. I could live without it. I don't know if I want to sit there in the office from 3 in the morning until midnight anymore, man. That was a grind. Standing out there at practice, walkthroughs, and getting criticized and booed by everybody, and yeah.
Pharrell, holy shit!
I do miss game day though, and the competitiveness of some of the guys. I don't miss some of the other guys, but I do miss some of the players and coaching them.
You just don't want to take any more shit from anyone. That's all you know.
I'm used to it. I got really thick skin. I grew up with my brother now, so I got thick skin. If anybody can handle getting shit thrown at them and taking it, I can handle it.
Hey, Jay, tell the family, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you doing this, man. Tell them I said hi. You've always been a dear friend of mine, man, for all these years, and Godspeed, brother. I hope we can do this again, man, and I hope people check him out. And check his YouTube channel out, too, because he gave you some great stuff right there about these divisional games this weekend. Thank you so much, Jay.
Dan, anytime, and you never sacked me. I know you say you did,
no,
but you never did.
Nope, I did not sack you. I hit you, but I did not sack you. Thank you, brother.
Good. All right, thanks, Dan.
You got it. That is Jay Gruden, our good friend, man. Make sure you guys check out his YouTube channel, too. So, great stuff there, man. I love the guy. Absolutely. How you doing? I'm not a jailer. Dang, 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 dang. You see M. Reyes talking shit? I hate this guy because he talked a little bit about little boy and, get the win. M. Reyes moaning. Hey, M. Reyes moaning. Wait, what? He didn't like Jalen. What a fucking loser. Oh, I see. He liked it yesterday when Angelo went, I really love Daywin Hurts in his 101 yards passing. He's not the problem. Okay. What a toolbox. Your new nickname, M. Reyes, is Toolbox. Not Tool. Toolbox. What are you doing? You and the Jalenites. Where's my boy Pumper? We're going to talk a little bit more about, hey, by the way, real quick, let me do the timeout here, and we'll come back with what Vic and what Kellen said here. Don't forget our good friends at BetUS. We've teamed up with them this year with our friends at BetUS during this football season for the YouTube 150. Make sure you guys check it out. The YouTube 150 is a sign-up bonus up to $2K. Second and third, 125%. If you're into crypto, that's 200%. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. Live wagering on all major games. 24 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.